best. to order. Roll call.
Present.
Present. Present.
Here.
Present. Here.
This is a legal meeting of the Board of Education as advertised by the means specified in board policy. A complete copy of the Open Meetings Act is posted in the boardroom for your review. A copy of the agenda is available at the desk of the recording secretary. Is there anyone that would like to speak with us tonight? Anyone like to speak? Okay. Then I'm going to move on. If there's nobody like to speak, I'll move on to information and discussion items. We can go to, the next item is building visits. I can start. I went to last Friday to the middle school where the foundation also had asked the retirees to come and tour the middle school, and I was there with them. Also, Mr. McAllister was there too. And well, other than the middle school being very nice, it was nice to see the retirees. They were so excited to be there. They were glad to be asked and included, and they had all kinds of memories and of the way it used to be and when they designed it, and it was fun to listen to them. And the middle school is amazing. If you haven't been there, go see it. It is very, very nice. They did a good job. And I just heard in our previous meeting they're pouring cement, so it should be ready for kids tomorrow morning. They're pouring cement maybe as we speak, and they will be ready tomorrow morning.
Well, I stayed after the staff welcome meeting the other morning because I wanted to hear Eric Twaddell's presentation on professional learning communities, and it was well worth the time there. He really talked about how professional learning communities are much more than an activity. They're culture. And it's really important that when you have effective PLCs, that culture really just is pervasive throughout the entire district and through everything that you do. And the real purpose of PLCs is to help teachers, helping other teachers to be effective. And ultimately, then the goal is so that all students can learn as effectively as possible. One of the quotes that I think he borrowed from Stephen Covey, Stephen Covey's quote was, "You can't talk your way out of a problem that you have behaved your way into. You can only behave your way out of it." But he changed the word problem to culture, which I think fits. You can't really change a culture that you have become ingrained in and behave as part of without changing the way you behave. So that really stuck with me. He also really emphasized how important collaboration is in professional learning communities. You really can't have a PLC without that interdependency and that mutual accountability. Those are two of only a few other things that are characteristics of effective PLCs. And I really felt like he gave a couple of lasting examples of how important collaboration is and the difference between just being a group and really being a team. And the example he used was one of the Australian rowing team members in the Olympics in 2004, I think it was. I think her name was Sally Robbins. But the Australian team was contending for first place. And Sally Robbins, because she was so exhausted, she just let go of her oar, kind of flopped back, and didn't participate in the rest of the race. And the Australian people really, they really chastised her for that. I mean, talking about what a terrible person she was and how could she do that. But he made the comparison with a marathon runner who was running and became so exhausted that he had to just step out of the race, and he stepped over in the grassy area and just started crying, and people were very sympathetic to him, saying, "Oh, isn't it sad that he couldn't finish?" You know, and the point that was really being made is when you are a team, when you don't perform, you're letting everybody down. There's interdependency, there's mutual accountability. But when you're performing on your own, you're on your own, right? So you're really only accountable to yourself. So I thought Twaddell really made a lot of very poignant points, and it really, I think, set the stage for what Norfolk Public Schools wants to do with PLCs. You know, we've had PLCs for quite a while, but I think this really seemed like it's the next step in terms of making PLCs so that we are clearly identifying what we want students to learn, that we develop those common assessments, we gather the evidence through those assessments, we analyze the data, and then most importantly, we take action based on the data that exists. So if you have a chance to, I think during the year, maybe go observe a PLC, it might be worth doing that, just to see how those PLCs are progressing.
I just made I attended along with Patty, we attended the new teacher meeting and or luncheon. It was a delicious luncheon, and it was fun to meet the new teachers and talk to the principals and get their opinion on some things. I was asking them how soon they wanted me to do the building visits. I thought, being a teacher, I'm kind of sensitive to how busy they are at the beginning of the year, and they said after Labor Day. So that's when I'm going to start my visits.
I went to the middle school open house as well, and it's really amazing that the architect, the way they wrapped that new addition in, is really hard to tell that it was even an addition. There's a lot of very good thought put into that. The flow of that building is amazing, and I was also really impressed with the music and band programs. Like, oh man, they're really they're getting a lot of participation in that, and I think that's a great thing at middle school to be able to provide that kind of facilities, and they were crammed in before that. So, you know, you build it and they'll come, right? Build that facility, and then we're gonna have a lot of students, band and music. So that was great, and I think that it was just a very timely thing. You know, if the school board even waited a year, it would have been a lot more expensive and wouldn't have gone as smoothly. So it was very good timing on the school board, and it's a great addition. And then I also went earlier that morning to the what do they call it, the all teacher forum. What was that? What was it?
Welcome back.
Welcome back. Yeah, and Brenda gave a very good talk representing the board, and learned a lot about Mr. Mack over there, and it was very inspirational. I'm one of those people that believe in everything you do, it has to be with passion, and that your message really drove that home for me. So it was great.
The next item on the agenda is superintendent search firm. I put this on the agenda because I wanted to let the community know, and a time for any of us to have any more questions too. On our next meeting, August 25th at 12:30, we'll have the first search firm that we've reached out to present. So we have two search firms that will present to us. NASB, meaning the Nebraska Association of School Boards. Are they at 12:30? Okay. And then McPherson and Jacobson, they will present to us at 1 p.m. And each one gets about 15 to 20 minutes to present. And then we will listen to them on the 25th, and we will decide and vote on our search firm on the meeting in September 8th, on that Monday meeting. Does anybody have any questions or comments right now with our search firm? We all got packets of information in an email to read through on their proposals.
And they will bring a hard copy when they come for everybody as well.
Just wanted to add for the public you can come to this meeting. Take your lunch hour and get involved and come and see and be a part of this whole process. We want the public to be involved.
I'll just say that reading through the proposals, I think we have two very well-established search firms who are going to be presenting to us. I think they share a lot in common in terms of the services they'll provide, but there were some differences. And so I think it behooves us to think about what are the most important things that we're looking for with the search firm.
Anything else anybody wants to add on the search firm and superintendent search before we move on? Okay, so that'll be and that meeting is at noon on the 25th. We'll hear from the search firms. Finance and Facilities Report, Mr. Wilson.
Thank you, Madam President. In July, we were able to attend Administrator Days in Kearney. I attended multiple sessions there, specifically ones that circled around budget updates. And I'll talk a little bit more of that in a minute. Transportation, we learned that the federal transportation guidelines are changing and 11 passenger vans will no longer be allowed. That's coming through the governor's office next. Once it gets his signature, which they anticipate will happen this year, we will have to have another solution plan in place to replace those. Also attend multiple sessions with legal updates. Within those sessions, we looked a lot about the new laws that have been passed through the legislature, things to make sure that schools are doing, cell phones, behavior, all those mandates that we got to make sure that we're following through with and doing correctly for our community. Regarding the budget process, obviously back in July we were pretty concerned when we heard that federal funds were not being released yet and they were kind of on hold. We have found out that those federal funds will be released. Most of those we already had no numbers on. We're still waiting on a few things that we have to apply for yet. We do anticipate there will be a little reduction in those funds from the previous years, but it is at least nice to know that we're going to be receiving those federal funds and we can plan and budget for those moving forward. We're currently working through the impact of our reduced funding as we look at the budget process. We know that we were losing $3 million in equalization aid, so that's part of the budget process for right now. We also have been working through a zero-based budget, not adding anything to our budget for next year, but also looking at the things that we've been doing since November as a board, the decisions you guys have made, where we've reduced some positions, we've combined positions, all of those things to help bring our budget impact down. Currently, we're looking at a potential 1.24% decrease in expenses for the 25-26 school year. And then finally, obviously, we're waiting on the valuation numbers. That happens on August 20th. Once we have those numbers, we can help set our levy and determine what our options are moving forward. We anticipate right now, August 25th, we'll do a budget preview before the search firms do their presentations. September 8th, we'll do the budget and tax hearings. And then on September 22nd, adopt a budget based upon the board's recommendations. Finally, the total amount of claims to be approved on the consent agenda by specific fund are listed below this evening. General fund, $249,687.96. Nutrition fund, $11,328.70. Subsidiary fund, $6,797.05. Depreciation fund, $439,871.43. QC Puff, $17,730. Senior High Activity Fund, $16,126.77. Junior High Activity Fund, $431.92. And the Student Fee Fund, $710.73. All of these claims have been reviewed by the Finance and Facilities Committee. Any questions?
Eric, I'm just going to make a comment for the public. I had a couple of questions when I reviewed this, and sent them off to Eric, and he so promptly responded, and it, answered the questions that I had, and I really appreciate that, Eric, that you're able to, answer our questions and get this thing. So for the public, if you ever look over these things, you're able to do that. And if you have questions, you can send your questions to Mr. Wilson, and he will get back with you right away. And you can get some of these things that you may be questioning. Why are they spending this money on this? Or why is this a little bit high? And he'll answer it, and he always has a really good answer. So answered my questions, and I just want to make the public aware that you, again, can look at these things and ask us questions. It's okay.
Thank you, happy to help.
Teaching and learning report, Jared Oswald.
Thank you, Madam President. Well, as Dr. Goebbels discussed, we started off the school year with some professional development for our staff on PLC. When I took this position, I've been a believer in the PLC process, having experienced it as a teacher, having done several trainings over it. But we had never had a PLC professional development where the whole staff got to hear the fundamentals and the concepts behind PLC. And so that was our goal with this initial keynote presentation that Dr. Twaddell gave. Again, as Dr. Goebbels mentioned, some of the things that he highlighted were the importance of that interdependence and that mutual accountability for student success. We have plenty of expertise within our district as far as our teachers go. We just need to find a way to share that expertise, and through that we can meet the needs of all of our students. And so this will not be a one and done professional development. We will have 2 more dates where we are working with experts in the PLC process, just trying to make sure that we're getting the most out of that time we spend as professional development teams, so that we can do the most for students. And so October 20th, we'll have a speaker coming to work with our teachers, actually taking them through what planning a unit looks like in the PLC process, putting in all the components, especially that data analysis, and then planning interventions for students, which, as Dr. Twaddell mentioned, is the linchpin of the PLC process. And it's also one of the most difficult to do. And so we're going to work with our teachers on that day to ensure that they see how it's done, they get time to work on it, and then we can implement it. And then in December, Dr. Twaddell will be back to basically follow up on how that went. Those teachers will plan it all out. They'll implement it in their classrooms and with their PLC teams, and then they're going to reflect. They're going to see what went well, and they're going to get some guidance on him on how to improve and how to continue to get better. And so we're really excited about this year, that we can have this time, not just one day, but multiple days, so we can really get to where we get the most out of our PLC. Next thing I have is that we've had a lot of work this summer on getting materials and getting those delivered to schools. Again, I really want to highlight the work that my assistant Steph Chandler does to make sure all of that goes smoothly. We've gotten all our materials delivered. I think the last pallet was delivered last Friday, so some teachers were getting a little bit nervous, but they've done that. And our maintenance staff does a great job in helping us out with that process as well, so we want to thank them also. Then lastly, I was also able to attend Administrator Days in Kearney. I attended some really great sessions. I attended one with Mr. Mack on goal setting and data usage in your strategic action planning process from Millard Public Schools. I got some great ideas as well as some great templates to use that we are going to be implementing with our principals first and then our staff. So we'll be showing you the board, what we're looking to do with those data setting templates and what we're setting our goals at. There are some changes coming to ACT and AQuest. Those are a little bit more detailed, and now is not the time to explain them to you, but we will get that information to you and explain what those changes are and how it's going to affect the data that you see. And then the last thing was that I took from Admin Days was the session of our final keynote speaker, who talked, and we talk a lot about data, especially in the teaching and learning office, but he really reminded us that behind every one of those data points is a story. And sometimes students are pretty good at hiding what that story is, but we need to get to know what that story is so that we can help them get to where they want to go. And so I thought that was just a great thing that we ended Admin Days with. And with that being said, I will open up the questions, but I do appreciate Mr. Mack allowing me to leave after this, because part of my story is my son will be starting kindergarten next year at Lincoln, and so I get to go to his open house next. So I'll take any questions, but then I'm going to head out to do that.
Not a question, Jared, just a comment. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to steal your thunder.
Nope, that's not a problem. You gave some great explanations about what we heard.
Student Programs Report, Lynette.
Good evening. Thank you, Madam President. First on my list was Administrator Days, and I have to thank you again. It is an amazing opportunity to get a lot of information in a short amount of time. The sped up law updates are of course very vital to my daily operations and what we do, so that was a good session. But three things probably, as homeless liaison, there is a certification that's required for this, and so I was able to take the class and take the certification while I was there and passed, and so now I'm able to assist in that role with our students who may be experiencing homelessness. Also, next was our students that are under court supervision. They call them systems involved youth. And what we're finding, of course, is that students who might be involved in the system move around quite a bit and they lose credits. They might be in one particular place until Thanksgiving and then they go somewhere else. And what was sometimes happening is they wouldn't get credit for the classes that they had taken up and through November. And that's heartbreaking because they've worked so hard to get those credits and are so close. And now there's a way, the plan is for it to be able to track those things. And students won't lose credit by moving from place to place. And so I was excited to hear that there's some accountability and a way to help students that might be involved in that system. Last but not least for Administrator Days was High Ability Learner 2. The guidelines are changing for qualification and eligibility in that area, and so it was good to hear the rollout on how the assessments, what pieces they want you to use, and how students can be eligible for that High Ability Learner program. So those were probably the three main sessions that I found very, very helpful and got lots of good information on. Native American Liaison. Haven't filled the position quite yet, but we're working on that, and we're really close. But I do want to take the time to thank Jeanette from downstairs, Jeanette Holtz and Stacy Uzel. They were very instrumental in getting the backpacks that we have available for our families, and they came and picked those up, and also some paperwork that's required to sign some paperwork that we need for the grant money that we receive. So very appreciative for them and their time in their organization in doing that and helping our families. ELL and SPED meetings, I was excited to get both of those in. Met with ELL last Friday. Great group of teachers, really working hard for the students that they work with, and excited to try maybe some new, we need to come up with a tracking form to kind of monitor our students that are placed on monitor. And so we want to develop that and are looking forward to working together to do that. And we also needed to update our plan, our summary plan that we have. And it's nice to be able to do that all together when we're talking data of students and how those things went. So Brandy Zavadil again did a very nice job in bringing some talking points to the group and organizing. So appreciate that. SPED, I met with leadership last week. A great opportunity again to talk to those in special ed. And today was our all SPED staff meeting, and it I think went well. Very, very positive group of staff, and willing to roll up their sleeves and do the work that's required. So very proud of them as well. Last but not least is in-service training. We had ESU 8 come in and provide Marzano vocabulary training for our new teachers in special education, and then they also provided para training for all of the paras in the district, and they just go over a multitude of things in the classroom and what their roles are and their duties and how to seek help or what to do in areas if they have questions. So it was a busy couple weeks, but amazing, really good. So
Lynette, can you share with the board what you shared with me earlier?
well, I'm kind of excited to say special education determinations were released, and that's the kind of the overall system where they're looking at not only your participation rate in testing, but your scores. They look at dropout rate, they look at attendance, they look at, I think there's 43 areas that they're looking at. And last year in categories, we were kind of in the third category in needs improvement. And this year, we got it back and we met requirement. And so we moved up, and I was actually really excited. I went to Mr. Mack and I'm like, yay. So very proud of the work that's been done. There's been a lot of improvement and a lot of good work done. So I appreciate that.
Could you share a little bit more about that, the monitoring, the student monitoring? Yeah, explain what that is and who's monitoring and where does that data go, or?
When we test ELL students with the ELPA, which is kind of their summative test for students who are in the English language program, if they come out on monitor status, that means that a direct teacher, they don't get direct teacher services, but we still want to watch how they're doing. And if they have any areas where in reading or writing or speaking, listening, any of those areas, then we want to be able to say, you know what, we might have put you on monitor a year ago, but you still have some needs and we want to help you. And so it's just having a way to make sure that kids, even though they might test out at the moment, don't fall through the cracks later.
Student Services Report. Mr. Hughes.
Thank you, Madam President. First off, we visited with all of our building principals. We do have 2 left to go. Just talking safety in the buildings, you know, and one of the things that Mr. Mack and I talked about was what are some threats that are potentially outside of our buildings. You know, we can think about what's going to happen inside, but 15 years or so, you know, down at the milk specialties plants, I believe that big propane tank caught on fire and that part of town was evacuated. So that's just an example of what are things outside of our buildings that we need to prepare for. You know, we've got the train tracks and with the new bean plant and some of the things, we don't know what maybe necessarily that's being hauled from one side of Norfolk to the other, and if there's a train spill, what are we gonna do? So it was good to talk with our principals and work through some of those solutions. Officer Teets, one of our school resource officers, and myself, we sat down and kind of came up with our list of what we thought were the outside threats. And then since Mr. Wilson was in this position prior to me, I took it to him. We talked through some things and he felt we had a really good list. And then as I worked through it with the principals, they of course added some things that maybe we didn't think about. So really good conversation with them. And I guess I got 2 more to go. So, and then the next thing I was able to do in the last week and a half, I've been working with Captain Trevor O'Brien with Norfolk Fire and Rescue. I was able to meet with all 3 of our fire and rescue shifts to go over our SRP, which are standard response protocol. You know, when you look at hold, secure, lockdown, evacuation, and shelter and what that looks like. To fire and rescue, those 5 terms don't mean a whole lot. So it was introducing them on, here's what we do, here's our phrasing, we say it twice, here's what our kids and our staff are gonna do. So we know that if a major event were to happen, fire and rescue are coming into our buildings to help out. And they ask some great questions, you know, like, are kids gonna be dismissed when you want them to? And the answer to that is no. We're gonna make sure that everything is safe and then we move forward. So just really good to sit down with them and talk through some things. I too was fortunate enough, thanks to you guys, to go to Administrator Days. Went to multiple sessions on school safety. It was great to sit down and talk with Jay Martin, NDE school safety guru, reinforce a lot of what we currently do and just some things to think about that he sees maybe coming down in the future. I also went to the school law update. Mr. Wilson was a part of that. Mr. Mack was in that session as well. So then that way we kind of know what our lawyers are working with and what the legislature has worked through. After that, last Thursday, I did attend a 3-hour Zoom with our school lawyer, just taking those law updates a little more in depth. So always good to see and hear what's coming. And then the last thing was student hearings, kind of the do's and don'ts. If we are ever to go to a student hearing, we worked through a lot of different scenarios, talked it out. Brian Moshman, I believe, with ESU 6 was the leader of that one. He has been through multiple hearings, so it was good to learn from him. That's something I hope I don't have to use, but at the same time, it's good to know and work with people that have been there. So we make sure that we are organized and ready to go in case that happens to us. And then last, I'm just looking forward to the upcoming school year. We've got our kids coming tomorrow, and that's the most important part to me, so we can do what's best for kids. We've got half our kids coming tomorrow, the other half on Wednesday, and then Thursday, it's here we go. Everybody's here and we're rolling, so excited.
Check. Human Resources and Accreditation Report. Angie Bauman, she's not here tonight, so we're going to move on to the Superintendent's Report. Mr. McAllister.
Well, I too got to attend Administrative Days. Thank you. I think my first one I attended was in 1989, and I really wasn't looking forward to it, but it was a great time and had some good sessions. One was literacy. Starts, if they're not here, they can't learn, dealing with chronic absenteeism. School law updates, principals and as instructional leaders. I thought was a very good session, and also the session with Jared on using data to drive continuous improvement. What I'm encouraged about all of this is that the priorities of student safety, academics, and budget, everybody is addressing those in here, which is encouraging to me. And the side note of that Administrative Days was getting to spend time with other Colt team members and just getting to know them a little bit better, I think was positive. As far as my report goes, I will be getting a hold of the Activities Committee, and I'll set up those meetings coming forward. In the past few weeks, we've had the administrator in service, where we had all 30 principals, assistant principals, and CO staff here. Then we had the new teachers in service, and then the teachers in service, and we continue to meet as a Colt team. Site visits to schools. I've made several of those in this last week. I think all schools. And then tomorrow we will start our days, all of us, beginning in schools. And that will just continue throughout the year. And again, August 25th, the search firm will be here. That's my report, unless you have any questions.
Committee reports. Finance and Facilities report. The Finance and Facilities Committee met on August 6th with board members Steve McNally, Tom Stanton, and myself. The committee discussed the budget, the bus grant, activity fund, LACAP renewal, Union Pacific lease, superintendent search firm. And the committee also met tonight at 5 o'clock. We discussed some depreciation funds and the money going in and why we have depreciation funds and what we intend to spend it on. So that is our report for Finance and Facilities. That's, I think, the only committee that's met since our last board meeting. The consent agenda. We have minutes from the previous meetings attached from July 28th. Claims, Mr. Wilson.
Thank you, Madam President. Attached are the claims. These claims were reviewed earlier by the Finance and Facilities Committee. There is one conflict statement that will need to be read prior to voting.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second.
I have a motion by Patty and a second by Tom. Is there any other discussion?
Out of an abundance of caution, I hereby declare a potential conflict of interest and am abstaining from voting on Claim 322 for the month of August in the consent agenda for this meeting. I have signed and filed this written disclosure with the Secretary of the Board. It is my intent to vote on all other remaining items listed on the consent agenda. My vote on the remainder of the consent items should not be taken as a vote one way or the other on the items which I have identified or any of the matters set forth therein or related to thereof.
Please vote.
Motion carried 6-0.
8.1, discuss, consider, and take action to renew our property liability, boiler and machinery, and errors and omissions insurance with LACAP for the 25-26 policy year. Mr. Wilson.
Madam President, it is the time of the year for our annual insurance renewal. AliCap has been our provider of workman's comp and property liability insurance for the past year and a half. We've been happy with their service and rates over that time. For the 25-26 school year, our rates are decreasing slightly due to a lower workers' comp modifier. It has been reduced from 1.03 to 1.0. And that's a credit to our workman's comp work that Angie Bauman is doing for us as well. We will also receive a credit for owner dividends of $3,459. Our total premium cost for 25-26 will be $533,278 compared to last year's $543,514. Not very often right now, we're seeing a decrease there. I recommend approval of the AliCap renewal for 25-26.
I'll motion. I'm sorry. I motion to renew our property liability, boiler and machinery, and errors and emissions insurance with AliCap for the 2025-2026 policy year.
I'll second that.
I have a motion by Steve and a second by Cindy. Is there any other discussion? I just wanted to say, our credit for our dividends, those will increase the more years we've been in and the more money that we pay into AliCap, our dividends will get bigger. If AliCap has a good year overall with schools, that those will increase too.
I believe our dividend last year was $1,500, so definitely an increase.
Go on.
No, you said what I was going to say. So.
And hey, if we've got a decrease in insurance, that doesn't happen. So let's hurry up and vote on this one. Please vote.
Motion carried 6-0.
8.2, discuss, consider, and take action to accept the Nebraska Clean Diesel rebate and purchase a new route bus. Mr. Wilson.
Thank you again, Madam President. I have applied for and we have been awarded $33,000 from the Nebraska Clean Diesel Rebate Program for a new route bus. The program requires that we recycle an older, inefficient diesel bus from our fleet and replace it with a new clean air bus. We currently have an old 2005 route bus that meets the requirements of this program. We would replace it with a 2026 fuel-efficient gas 65-passenger bus. This grant opportunity will help us make a positive step in updating our bus fleet. We will use dollars from our depreciation fund that we have identified for this purpose. Total cost for a new bus is $137,292, minus the $33,000 rebate, making it $104,292 cost to the district. This is approximately a 25% savings for our district.
I'll make a motion to accept the Nebraska Clean Diesel rebate and purchase a new route bus for an estimated cost of $104,292 to the district.
Second the motion.
I have a motion by Tom and a second by Patty. Is there any discussion? Can I ask what we're going to do with the old bus? What do you say, recycle an older? What do you mean by recycle?
Part of the rules of the program is that we have to disable this bus. We have to put a hole in the block that cannot be used because obviously they don't want somebody else using the bus as a weekend party bus or something, and then it's still chugging diesel down the road. So
you put a hole in it, and then what do you do with it?
we'll take it to Alters and recycle it.
Awesome that we got the grant. And thank you for applying for it. That's amazing.
Please vote.
Motion carried 6-0.
Future meetings. The second monthly meeting of the Board of Education is scheduled for Monday, August 25th, 2025 at noon. The regular meeting of the Board of Education will be held on Monday, September 8th at 5:30 p.m. All components of these meetings will be held at the MPS Central Administration offices and will be open to the public unless an executive session is needed in order to protect the interest of the district or the reputation of an individual. And I just want to say I'm excited for tomorrow and the beginning of a school year. Best wishes to all the teachers and the parents, and I feel for the parents of seniors and the parents of kindergartners. Sometimes there's tears, and it's not always the children, so. But it's going to be a good school year. It's going to be fun. We're going to learn a lot, and we're going to have a good time doing it too, so it's exciting. With that, we will adjourn the meeting. Thank you.